So in 2013, I was part of a show that you might have heard of, Shark Tank. And people are always so surprised to hear that because I don't talk about it. And in fact, the entire time I was at Louisiana Tech in the College of Business, no one really knew. There were a few people that would find out and they would whisper, oh, are you the girl on Shark Tank?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of HR View, a workplace guide. We're so excited to have Jessica here with us today. This is James Callender and Bradley Jeffcoat, and we're bringing you the next episode in our series, in our podcast, really focusing on careers, workforce, leadership, people, all the experiences, everything business and professional related. And we're so excited to have Jessica here. I've had the honor of having a short chat with her here recently in preparation for this session, and Jessica's background and experience and the things that she does now. And I'm just excited. I'm ready to get going. So we're not going to waste a lot of time. Jessica spent almost 9 years at Louisiana Tech University, so my alma mater, in a role that she was able to really bring people into the university and the College of Business and really steer them in those directions, hold their hand as they're coming into the university. She I would say tested the corporate world for a little while, for just over a year. And I will let her tell that entire story of how she got there. But I think she realized that the passions were really around what she was doing before in that arena, and made her way back to Louisiana Tech University, which is where she is now in a slightly different capacity. But I'm so excited to have a an amazing individual on the call with us, and what I think you'll find to be an incredible background and experiences, and then also some of the things that she does now to help people like many of our viewers get jobs, get growth, get new opportunities in the workplace. So Jessica, with that, welcome to our podcast. I am honored to have you on the call, and we're so excited to have you here.
It's a hard intro to follow, James. I hope I can measure up.
Oh, I think you will do just fine. So, I'm just going to dive right in. Tell all of my viewers and our viewers of your background, like how you got to where you are now in life. What molded you to get there, the personal experiences, because right now you are the director of entrepreneurship and innovation, right, for Louisiana Tech University. That is a pretty cool title, but what does that really mean? And what do you do? Who do you help? How do you help them? And just go, just go.
Okay, so I'll jump right in. So I did for 9 years, 8.5 years, served as the director of student services and career placement in the College of Business at Louisiana Tech. So essentially, I was the liaison between students and employers, and I was helping employers find talent. I was helping students figure out what their career goals were and what employers might fit those. And so I really was in the trenches with students. For many years, and through that process, just really observed the frustrations, the inefficiencies, the things that people look at the job search process and they go, "Oh, this is just painful. It's just got to be a better way." And so I did set out to create a talent acquisition platform. It was about a 2-year journey where I had amazing mentors, amazing board members. Unfortunately, the economy, with the way it is, it did not launch. But through that process, got connected with the Entrepreneur Accelerator program out of Shreveport, which is an incredible group, and really dipped my toe back in entrepreneurship. So I say back in entrepreneurship because about a decade before that, so in 2013, I was part of a show that you might have heard of, Shark Tank. And people are always so surprised to hear that because I don't talk about it. And in fact, the entire time I was at Louisiana Tech in the College of Business, no one really knew. There were a few people that would find out, and they would whisper, oh, are you the girl on Shark Tank? But I really didn't talk about it because it was pretty traumatizing for me. In 2013, I just graduated college. I was working on a high heel shoe product and was competed at the Arkansas Governor's Cup, which is an amazing experience. And the judges kept telling me, hey, we think you should go for this. We think that there's really something there. And so I toured shoe manufacturers and did the whole angel investing thing and all of that. And ultimately, my mom signed me up in an act of desperation for the show Shark Tank. And so I went and I filmed and I got this TV deal with Damon John. And in my early 20s, just kind of folded under the pressure of entrepreneurship. It was a lot. It was certainly. I mean, I was a business undergrad and an MBA, and I feel like everything that I learned in the classroom did not prepare me for. I mean, it did prepare me, but it's also a whole nother thing to be kind of shouldering entrepreneurship on your own, and ultimately that was not a venture that worked out either. And so for 10 years, I just sat in complete and total just fear of failing, fear of trying again, fear of, if I failed once, then that was it. I can't do it again. And just really got so consumed with that mindset that my mind is constantly like coming up with things. And I look at things and I see the problems and, I shut that down entirely. That was something that I just would not entertain for a decade. And then whenever I just could not help but see the inefficiencies in the job search, that's when I decided to try again. And it was a pretty cool experience, like climbing myself out of that hole of darkness that I had put myself into. And honestly, I mean, students are so supportive, and they're like, "That's amazing that you're on Shark Tank, and I'm so proud of you." And like, they're so receptive and so wonderful about it. And in my eyes, it was a failure, but now with perspective and a whole lot of just kind of looking at the situation and going, okay, you did what you could with the resources that you had. So my perspective has changed entirely. But all that to say, it's been a very broken road into the center of entrepreneurship, and now I'm super passionate to get to help students just, have the courage to try, have the courage to fail and be okay with it, and, move on, pick yourself up. And I tell students all the time, like 9 out of 10 new ventures fail. And so I got 7 more failures until I get it right. So that's kind of a little bit about like kind of how I got here in the Center for Entrepreneurship.
What was your first role like, after that whole thing? What was your first role after you shut down the company? What did you do from there? What was Louisiana Tech your first stop?
Yeah, so I Louisiana Tech was very early in my career. I did not anticipate being in career services. I was in event planning and loved recruiting. I loved talking with people, and so I was hired at Louisiana Tech to be like a recruiter, to essentially go out and encourage others to check out Louisiana Tech and the College of Business. And there was certainly, some things that were taking place accreditation wise. There was this big shift to very concierge level career services. And so our dean at the time, he was like, hey, Jessica, I know that you were hired for this role, but we really need your role to transition to this. And so in the first few months, I was Googling, how do I calculate a placement rate, how do I host networking events and things like that. And we grew. So my very first employer reception in the College of Business had 8 employers. And then when I exited my role, we were at over 65 for every event. So just was able to build programs and processes that supported students, that supported the employers, and it was so rewarding.
So cool. And I went to the employer reception, so it is a
Yeah.
large thing. Like I loved it. I had so much fun,
Mhm.
met so many other great students. But with that being said, what parallels do you see from your career with the students that you're helping now?
Yeah, so I mean, I still because I have been at Louisiana Tech for so long, even though I'm no longer in a career services role, I still get students all the time, former students. Hey, Jessica, I just need a little bit of your magic. Can we sit down and talk? And none of what I'm going to tell is magic. It's just kind of challenging the students to think in a different way when they do approach their job search. Because, I mean, any listener that is tuning into this podcast is likely doing so because they're frustrated with the process. They're frustrated with not being noticed by employers. The process is just being very time consuming and ultimately not landing a job. And so all that to say, now I have the pleasure to see alumni that come back and speak in the classroom. And but through that, I'll have students that come to me and say, hey, I hear you used to be in career services. You got any pointers? And I've, pretty much like wrapped it up in like a 15-minute, hey, this is what you should do when you're job searching to be unique and stand out and to do something a little different.
What was the length of time? And I'm gonna go back to the Shark Tank experience. From the time that you got on the show to the time that you ended up closing the company, what was that length of time?
It was, I started working, just kind of tinkering with the concept of an interchangeable shoe when I was in my graduate degree, and uh, began the actual patent process and all of that from the time that I made it on television, which was 2013. And for those of you that want to Google, spoiler alert, I cried on national television. So I'm just going to take the fun out of it for you. But it's under Jessica Shoe Company, Jeska is my maiden name, Jessica Haynes. But the it was months and months working with a producing team, going through the process of perfecting the pitch, perfecting what the stage looked like, down to what does the tablecloth on the table look like. It was very meticulously planned. And then I had the pleasure to work with Damon John after that, which is an amazing person, and really enjoyed that process as well. But ultimately, there just wasn't a big enough market for interchangeable shoes. And you probably are thinking like, oh, I've seen a few people, a few ads online that are trying to do interchangeable shoes. Yes, there are. Do I know anyone that owns a pair of interchangeable shoes? No. So I think that
Other than
kind of,
you, right? You've
I
got
think
a
it
pair
kind
or
of
two still?
I have like a prototype that is so rough. And now I teach students, I'm like, the uglier your prototype is, the better because you're getting it to the market faster. And if I'd have done that part, like built a prototype and actually went to women and said, how many of you do would actually purchase this product? And yes, it was a problem that women experience, like the heels breaking and, becoming worn. Was it enough to launch a company from? I don't think so. I think I was a good backstory, Southern accent, and just I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. I was super passionate, and still am. Now my focus has shifted to, hey, let's push you through all of the reasons why you should and should not launch a company, and let's make educated decisions. Let's do customer discovery. Let's go through the right process to make sure that if you're going to put it all on the line, that it's worth it. And those are things that I wish I would have slowed down and done. But I mean, at the time, I didn't know that. And so I think given the perspective that I have now, like I'm able to meet students in the trenches and say, like, hey, there's no failure you're going to come up with that's worse than mine. Like I failed in front of 8 million people. 8 million people think that I am this incredible entrepreneur. You Google Jessica Shoe Company, you're not buying anything. It didn't happen. It didn't launch. And so I think I have a story now that relates to students and they're like, okay, gosh, if you can overcome that and tell it in the classroom, I'm going to be okay.
What advice do you have for people that, because that's a roller coaster, that's the up and that's the got the deal or the planning got the deal, things didn't go great, right? And so that progressed over a course of a short period of time. There is a parallel there, like Bradley mentioned, with recent graduates, newly unemployed individuals, or maybe not even newly, but maybe a few months into a new search process. There is a high and low, even like talk of new graduates, right? The highest of highs, I just got a diploma. I just finished college. I just got my MBA, my undergrad, whatever. that's a high, and then we go experience the job market right now, which is I think what you could say is really soft. It's a really soft job market because there's a lot of people that are trying to find employment, and we had a conversation with somebody recently. A lot of those people are in mid to senior level roles typically, so you see a lot of people trying to get into a few jobs. And so what advice do you have for our listeners that are maybe experiencing that personally because you've gone through similar obstacles and challenges and experiences?
Yeah, so I think the best advice that I can give is the first time that I did it, I didn't have a mentor. So I was, young and naive and trying to be everything. If I didn't have the skill set, I would lie about it. But I didn't find people that had the complementary skill sets that could say, like, okay, like financials. This is not my strength. It's never going to be my strength. I want it to be. It's just not going to happen. Okay, so like one of the things that I've done, the second venture, is find people that have complementary skills that can fill the gaps when I maybe am not the most confident. And so the second venture, very early on, I built a board. I built an incredible team of people that believed in me, believed in the idea, but mostly would complement what I didn't bring to the table. And more importantly, they kept me accountable. They called me out on my BS. So like I had a tendency to get overwhelmed, and then I would try to pull back. Like, okay, I just can't do it. Let's just shut it down. I can't do it. Be done. And so the second time around, I had these incredible people that would say, no, Jessica, we're not quitting now. Like, this is not where we call it. And so it, I think, helps to have people that speak truth into you when you don't have that. And we go through hard seasons, and uh, we tell ourselves lies, and we don't have the confidence that we need. I think that's the job search is truly one of the most vulnerable stages that someone can go through, is trying to put themselves out there and trying to get people to believe their skills and like them and want to be their colleague, and to go through months and months of no's and rejections. I think it's hard. And so finding people that can be a cheerleader, a mentor, speak that confidence into them. One of the things that I found most working with students is they just didn't believe they had anything to bring to the table. Like, I would talk with a student that was, an incredible student athlete that had pretty much for, 5 years in a row done these crazy workout schedules, practices, team building, kept their academics high. And they'd go, but I just don't have any experience to bring to the table. And I'm like, what?
You have
Like, let's
so
take a look.
much.
Yeah, you have so much. Or, oh, that was just a part-time job where I did this and this and this. And I'm like, so you don't see that you have problem solving skills. You don't see that you were able to, deal with high volume customers, or, all of these. Like, so I think it was the reason that I love that job most is because I would have a student come to me in their most vulnerable state, not feeling confident, not feeling like they have anything to offer the world, and just kind of do an inventory of like, okay, let's talk about all the amazing things that you bring to the table, and then helping them craft it in a way that they could share it with employers and like be confident in it. And so I guess those are kind of the parallels between like the entrepreneurship journey that I went on, which was also, very vulnerable, very challenging, very isolating. Job search is same. Like, when someone is job searching, they tend to isolate. They don't want to tell people they need help. They don't want to tell people that they need referrals and connections and all the things. And that's mostly what we need in those states, is someone to jump in with us and help
I
us.
luckily had a great professor in college, and this is the
Mhm.
second or maybe the third time that I brought him up on the podcast. But he told me that college students need to learn to market themselves better because they often do. And this was in 2020 whenever he told me this. And it's changed a little bit on how we recruit and job seekers look for jobs. But for the most part, we've got to get creative in the way that we present ourselves, even just through a resume, because those little tasks like being a student athlete or being on a board or things like that, you're managing people, you're leading people. And I think that's a large part of what James and I have been talking about lately is leadership, and having somebody who speaks life into you and having a mentor is so, so important for not just young people, but recent college grads and people early in their careers.
Really, I'm glad you mentioned, the creative part of job searching because I think so many people feel like it has to be this like black and white resume and it has to be, you have to go through the gatekeeper, you have to go through the application process. And one of the things that I would tell students is like if you don't feel like a little like, oh my God, am I actually doing this? But you're not doing it right. Like I tell students to like think of these super unique ways to stand out. I always tell the story. I had a student that was sports marketing, incredibly difficult market to get into. Like it is so challenging to get into sports marketing. And, part of that conversation was like, okay, do you know what you're getting yourself into? Because if so, then buckle up, sit down, we're about to get into it. And she was like, I want this more than I've ever wanted anything. And I'm like, okay, like you are going to have to stand out. And so she was wanting the NFL Hall of Fame. And so I was like, I want you to go and buy football and I want you to put a QR code on it with your name. And she did like, it was beautiful. It was like beautifully printed, her name and this QR code. And you scan the QR code. That's her describing all of the experience that she had at Louisiana Tech Athletics and Grambling Athletics. And like it was super unique. And she physically mailed those footballs to all of those places. She identified like 10 places that she really wanted to work for. I had another student that was interested in community coffee, and she designed her resume to look like a bag of community coffee, like the cover
That's so
letter.
cool.
I mean, it's a little like, oh my God. Like I told her, I was like, I want you to go on the back end of their website, pull out their QR codes. Pull out their color codes, pull out their fonts. Like I want this to look like it was created by Community Coffee. And she did.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. I had a student that wanted to go to waste management, which is a little crazy, like I really want to work for waste management, but it was a big community type employer. She had grown up in this town where waste management was very prominent, and that was the goal. She wanted to work for waste management. And I said, okay, like they get hundreds, thousands of resumes. Like, what are you going to do that stands out? And she was like, I just don't know. Like, how do you stand out with a trash company? And I was like, well, go to Walmart, go to the kids aisle, find you a toy dump truck and roll your resume up and physically go drop it off with a note that is like, hey, I know you get a lot of trash resumes, but I can guarantee you this isn't one of them. So, like, I'm telling
The
them if they're,
marketing is definitely there. Yeah.
yes, yes, if they're not feeling just a little like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm a creepy stalker, you're not doing it right.
It's funny because like I look at hundreds and if not thousands of resumes a month, and I can tell you I've probably only gotten something like that once or twice in my career. And you remember them every time, and I have always I both times I've called that person. 100% of times that I've gotten something creative like that, I've called that person. Not necessarily that it worked out, but it got a foot in the door, I got a conversation, and I can't tell you, even from an HR, a recruiter standpoint, talent acquisition, you did it as well. But when I get creative people, when I get quality people, even if I don't have something for them, I am going out of my way to reach out to other contacts in the industry or other peers across other industries to say, hey, you know what? I got this candidate, Jessica. I don't have a spot, but she's phenomenal. Do you think you could talk to her? We do that. We do that all the time as recruiting professionals, talent professionals. Anytime we come across somebody that's because it's hard. It's hard in our world finding people that are finding great talent and having good conversations with them and I'm going to reach out to a partner and be like, hey, I don't have anything. You need to talk to this person. And I think Jessica's point of being creative there gets your name out there so much quicker than, just shooting over a resume that I'm going to look at online that looks like the others. And we're going to go through that in one of our episodes upcoming, is we're going to put a couple resumes side by side. That's storytelling. Resumes are telling the story of who you are and what you've done. And I had a conversation with someone that had, was transitioning into a different aspect of HR a couple months ago. They had been in recruiting for a while, and then they had gone to talent development. And we had some conversation around it. And you would think a recruiter sees resumes all the time, so they would have an easier job crafting resumes. And I was looking at their resume for them, and when I look at resumes, I want to see the successes that you've had in those roles and the things that you've accomplished. And that is usually quantifiable, qualitative things of that nature. And I tell people we do goal setting, we do SMART goals, we do things like that when we're setting goals in the organization. And that's the same approach you should be taking on your resume. So when you're putting the things that you've accomplished, I need to see because if you put on there, hey, I achieved 40% um, attrition for the year or retention, I retained, or whatever. And I don't know if that's good or bad because if you were at 30 before, that could mean it went up. Yeah, but if you were at 90 before and you tell me it's 40 and I'm a recruiter and I'm used to 18 to 20 and I'm thinking that's terrible. But I don't see that whole picture. So that's storytelling. That's showing me like I just reduced the turnover in the organization by 125% or whatever that number is. And that is the storytelling and that's what we have to see to get those conversations. And so many people miss the mark on that. They just put the task that they did in the job, right? I keyed data. I, built reports. I did this, and that's nice, but I don't know the impacts that you're making to the organization that can translate to what I need the impacts to be,
Yeah.
right?
And James,
So
I think now, so like we've introduced, we've entered in this whole like AI resume era, right? So now anyone can go into AI and say, write me a resume for this job position. And so now having beautifully written bullet points is not a differentiator. Everyone has a beautifully written resume.
well,
And so you should.
you should because it
You
is
should.
so easy,
It's
and
so
that
easy.
still frustrates me because I 90% of the applications that I get still just have they don't have those things.
I looked
And there's no
at mine
reason you
right before
can't.
we got on this call, and it was literally bullet point after bullet point after bullet point of just skills that they have. So, communication, like there was no specific job history or nothing. It was just skills and over and over and over again. It was like 3 pages of skills. I was like, come on, put this into AI, please.
Yeah.
I tell students like don't list communication, hardworking, on time, like prove it through what you put on the resume. And so I think that I mean, I hope with the introduction of all of these tools that's going to make resume writing easier is that students need to go into that storytelling component where they're differentiating themselves not just through the resume but through the application process, through finding a referral, finding an alumni that can make an introduction for you, finding a sorority sister that works for that organization that you can get the inside scoop on, like what is that organization looking for? I really push that concept of quantity is not where it's at. Like most of the time, when I get students that are super frustrated in their job search, I'll say, "Okay, tell me your job search method," and they'll go, "Well, every night from 4 to 6 p.m., I apply for about 30 jobs," and I like start laughing, and they're like, "It's bad, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but so bad it's good because you're doing it all wrong. Like you are focusing your time." Being so spread out, no one notices you. And I tell them, let's focus on quality. So instead of every night I'm going to apply for 30 jobs, I want you to apply for one job, but I want you to reach out to the hiring manager, find a tech alum that can do an introduction for you, do a informational interview with someone else that's in that job, do, find somebody that can give you some helpful information on how you can stand out. And so I tell them if you're not willing to take 2 extra steps, don't apply. It's not worth your time because they're not going to notice you anyways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I if I could tell college students or literally anybody, just go and talk to people. Go to these random events, start networking, get your foot in doors because James and I say it all the time, you really never know whenever a conversation is going to lead to another opportunity. And whether that be
Yes.
now or in 5 years, you will still have a connection with somebody who could either further your career or help you grow professionally or personally in the long run.
So Bradley and I did a session on networking recently, and we talked about it with another guest. But you have an incredible, or had an incredible, and still do have incredible opportunity to make those contacts through the school speakers, presenters for the groups. I think when we first talked, I think you were telling me about the most recent the applicant tracking system venture that you were doing, and and I'm not going to use names, but you were dropping some pretty big roles and titles and people that you had connected with. How tell talk about that, because that's phenomenal that you built those relationships, and to Bradley's point, they extended years into the future, and you were able to rely on them as even maybe mentors in some level, but partners in a venture also.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, you never know what interaction is going to lead to a relationship, which is going to end in, them actually benefiting you, you benefiting them. So I think the what I tell students is go into every interaction, like looking to build a long-term relationship, give to them before you ask of them. So like try to find a way to advertise their postings on LinkedIn, or, promote their business or something like that. Because when others see that you're pouring into them, they want to pour into you. But when the relationship that James is mentioning, Kim Jenkins, Kay Colum, if y'all are listening to this, these are the amazing two women that spoke truth into me and light into me when I didn't have it. Was I was in the hole of darkness and fear of failure and all of those things, and these ladies saw something in me, and I still to this day will never be able to repay that. But the way that happened is they were speakers for the College of Business. So we hosted a virtual session once a year where I would reach out. We didn't have a speaker budget, so I would literally reach out to people on LinkedIn, like, "Hey, we're in Ruston, Louisiana. You've probably never heard of us, but I want Lowe's, American Airlines, McDonald's, all of these executive speakers to come and share." What does it look like to lead organizations at your level? And one of the speakers was Kim Jenkins, an executive with PayPal at the time. She was chief diversity officer, and she was planning to speak at the event. We did the sound check. She just had this like ability to. I kept making comments like, "Oh, we need to hurry along. Your time is very valuable." And she would go, "Your time is valuable, Jessica. Your time is just as valuable as my time." And it was this like, I don't know, like this servant heart of, I'd never felt someone make me feel so valued in a room with an executive from PayPal. Okay. So like it just was this like moment where I was like, I cannot believe that, you're treating me this way. And it was amazing. It made me feel so valued and so important. And so then, come time for her session, something with PayPal happens and she sends me this email. "I will make this up to you, Jessica. Please know that, at some point I will repay the favor. I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to be able to speak." And so I, had sent her this lovely email back. "No worries. Thank you so much for making me feel so special. This is how you made me feel," and blah, blah, blah. And it really was genuine. I mean, she truly was just this like gifted person and like making me feel seen, which I have, now that I know Kim well, she does that with so many people, and that is her gift. Like her gift is making others just feel
Valued.
her presence, valued, feel her yes. And so uh, fast forward, it's probably a year later, and I'm working on Group Hire, which was the talent acquisition platform that I was building that allowed candidates to build flocks or teams of individuals. So the concept was we want to work with people we want to work with, but there's no process that allows candidates to do that. And so I, at that time, had really begun like digging into the idea. And so I reached out to her and I said, "Hey, Kim, you may not remember me, but you promised me a favor. I just want 15 minutes of your time. Tell me if this is a stupid idea or not. Give me your honest opinion. And I completely understand if you don't even answer this email." And she responds back, "Of course I remember you. Of course I'm going to take the time." So we're talking, and I'm giving her the idea. And she was like, "Gosh, Jessica, I really think you're onto something. I want to join you." And so we begin this like business relationship. And there was a time when Kim was launching a book and she had a marketing agency that wasn't following through with everything that they should. And I, kind of in that moment was like, okay, Kim, like what can I do? Like, tell me what I can do. Like, I've got a little bit of a marketing mind, like put me to work. And so after hours, I would come up and I mean, essentially like, okay, how do we come up with this launch plan? Like, what are your posts on social media going to look like? Finding someone that can help her design the graphics. And like, it was this crazy turn of events where, this professional relationship, this person that I admired, I'm now jumping in the trenches, like helping her through a hard time. And that built a relationship that was far beyond professional. And now, I mean, I think of her as a mentor. I think of her as a friend. She calls to check on me whenever I officially like sent the, hey, I've tried everything I can with group hire. I've done pitch to VCs. I've done the accelerator program. I've taken every call with every company you could possibly imagine. It's just the market is not receptive to it at this time. And I just sent this email to her that was, thank you so much, but it's not working. And she called me and I saw her name on my phone and I just started crying. And she said, now, Jessica, I'm going to give you today to be upset, but tomorrow you move on. Like, this is not the end of your ideas. This does not define you as an entrepreneur. Like, you will continue on. Today, you can cry. Tomorrow, you get your butt back in gear and
It's awesome.
yeah. And I think that is, gosh, like, I wish every student had that. I wish I had that earlier on in my career. But those are, I never went into those conversations with like, this person is going to help me out in the future. Like, you just have to love on people and you have to like do what's right and be there for them when they need you. And yeah, the world's going to repay that and you're going to reap the benefits. But I
Mhm.
think the true like go into it selflessly wanting to help others.
So what I'm hearing here is that, a true leader doesn't have to be your leader in the workplace. Like those qualities are just qualities of people, things that they truly are passionate and sincere about with others. In terms of, this example is a perfect example of that. And we always ask our guests of that, what is great leadership that you've experienced in life? And most of us do go to someone that we worked with. And you did work with her in a way, but she wasn't your direct manager. That it was just someone that made an impactful leadership uh, uh, imprint on your life, and I think that's very cool, impressive, and it's good information for the viewers, right? You don't you never know where you're going to get that support or that leadership. So don't close the door, don't shut something off. Networking is a 24/7, 365 thing. It's LinkedIn, it's activities, it's after hours, it's socials, it's the workplace, it's volunteer events. Some of the best jobs and opportunities have been landed at volunteer events because you build that relationship with certain people that you don't know them and you just volunteer. You have a commonality there and a passion of a nonprofit passion or whatever, and you do that volunteer. And then after 6 months, 12 months, you've built relationships that are lifelong and a lot of those things. And people don't understand how important that is.
A lot of students miss is they feel like the networking and the relationship building is just in showing up at the event. And what they miss out on is the follow up, the actual nurturing of the relationship takes place after that interaction, after that handshake, after that good conversation. And so that was probably one of the biggest disconnects with students is they would say like, oh, I did the thing. I went to the event. I handed my resume out to 50 people. And I'm like, okay, but did you follow up? Did you send an email with like some kind of jogging memory of like what you talked about or how something they brought up to the conversation that really resonated with you? And so I think that that's the part that people miss is they put themselves in the room and then they walk away going networking doesn't work. It does, but you've got to put in the extra effort to build the relationship beyond the interaction.
I was so impressed with all of the tech students because I had so many reach out to me after, because I did both resume coaching and the employer reception. So I probably had every bit of 10 to 15 students reach out to me after
That's
those,
awesome.
the reception and the resume building. And so those students at tech are really, they're getting some good coaching because they're
Yeah.
doing what they need to do.
I was actually going to say the opposite because I've gone, no, I didn't go to tech, I didn't make that event, but I've done other socials, other job fairs, career fairs, so school or, workforce commission or whoever. I've done those other events and I've always made it a practice that I get everyone's information. So whether it's a resume, a sign-in sheet, or whatever, I get that there. I put it into a spreadsheet. And I know some of the viewers are going to freak out on spreadsheets, right? But I put it into a spreadsheet because it's easy and I can go grab historical data. And anytime I have a hiring influx, I've got an excess number of positions or I'm opening up a new line or a new shift, new crew, something, I'll go to all the job fairs I've been at, whether it's 2 or 20, I'll go to those and I'll copy paste all those emails in there and I'll just circle back. Hey, I ran into you a couple years ago, within the last couple years, last month, whatever, give them information about the company. Here's some of the things I'm looking for. And I do that immediately following a job fair, within 48 hours of every job fair I go. So if I talk to 2 people or 20 people, I do that. I never, I don't hardly ever get responses from those. And I will send a note out to everyone. Hey, thank you for meeting with me. It was a pleasure to meet with you. I was so excited to tell you about the company, what we do. Let's send some links to our social, to our website, to my LinkedIn, and people, I don't hear back from them. They don't, and I can't fathom it. So if you're a viewer out there and you're an upcoming graduate or recent graduate, make those connections. I don't care if it's 2 employers that you talk to at a job fair or 20. Circle up with them. Hey, thank you so much. Their time is valuable. They've got a lot of things going on, but if they're taking the time out to message you, shoot you a message about, hey, thanks for checking in, take advantage of that. Make that connection, even if that's on LinkedIn and it's not as personal as it could be. Make that connection. You never know. Interact with them, follow them, keep in contact with them, and it doesn't have to be in depth. I don't need something extreme, right? But have that interaction so that name is staying fresh in someone's memory.
Okay, so James, you brought up a super important part. Students, do not use your tech email or your school email
You
on
lose
these
it.
resumes. It goes away. And
Yeah.
so then all of these relationships that you've built, you're they're going to it and yeah, they're gone. And so set up a professional email, start using it immediately. You can have it forwarded to your tech email if you need to, but I think that's another missed opportunity is they use their tech email and then 90 days after they graduate or whatever the time frame is, they're like, oh my God, I've been building all of these connections off of this one email.
Yeah.
And then now I have to transition.
One of the things, and I experienced it getting started, right, out of college, getting trying to get into my career, undergraduate in HR. I jump in and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do, how to do it, or anything. And what advice do you have for those recent graduates that might get that feedback of employers are looking for 5 years of experience and a degree? Because that's always the dilemma we have, is that I have the degree, but I can't have the experience until I get experience. What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, so I'll tell students, I'm like, there is no reason why you can't go and volunteer. Let's say you're an accounting major, like go to a local nonprofit and say, hey, I'm an accounting major. I'm trying to build up my experience. I can't get a job, a part time internship yet because I don't have any experience. So, chicken before the egg. I just need someone to give me some experience. Can I volunteer my time here 10 hours a week and learn more about my field or whatever it looks like? Marketing majors, go and, hey, I took the liberty to create some graphics that you can share on social media. I'm trying to build up my portfolio. I just want to give these to you. Please let me know if I can do this again because it would help me build my portfolio. I think so many times students think if it's not this like formal paid internship or formal paid role, that's the only way they get the experience. And there's so many other ways, volunteering your time, student organizations, you know, part-time roles that have transferable skills, so many. And students just have this like this mind block. They're like, oh, I applied to a lot of places and I can't get a job this summer. And I'm like, then go volunteer. Go.
What it's coming back to storytelling too.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
storytelling. We're back to that point with that
Yeah.
resume that I did it for a year at 10 hours a week. That doesn't matter. It's the
Yeah.
experience and knowledge that I gained during that. So I don't ever ask anyone, how many hours a week were you
Yeah.
working? Did
I
you
have
get
never
2,000
asked
hours of
that.
experience? I've never asked that. I just want to know. And it's storytelling. It's not lying. It's telling the story of I was doing financial planning and analysis for the last year and a half for a $5 million nonprofit organization, whatever, right? So it's how you craft that message and how you deliver
And
that message.
if you heard a student say, I volunteered my time, you're going to go, oh, wow, that's
That's
really
so
impressive.
nice. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of students, they leave out the experience in years based off of their degree. And so for me, I worked through college in my specific specialty, HR. And so I somewhat have all of that experience, but at the same time, I took a year and a half sabbatical from my job so I could finish out my degree. But I'm still gaining experience in human resources. So if you're an accounting major and you did get that internship and you've worked maybe 2 summers, you still have experience from whenever you started college. So that's freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, and those you have 4 years of experience technically. And while you're not lying, it's just storytelling. So,
And I think so many times students will see these years of experience and they won't apply. And I say, gosh, that's their wish list. That's their if we could get everything in the world granted to us, this is the list of qualities that we would get. It doesn't mean they're going to get that. And so apply anyways. Put yourself out there because it very well may open up a door, or maybe that company has another opportunity that they're planning, coming down the pipeline, and you don't know that because you don't see the future. So put yourself in those situations where you're making the right connections. And the rejection email, like, make
reach out
that
and
a
ask
meaning.
why.
Yeah, make it a meaningful interaction. Thank you so much for letting me know. Would you mind if I follow up in a month or so and see if any new opportunities have come available? That's another one that I'm like, that's low hanging fruit. That's such an easy way for you to make a difference. I think there's a lot of things that people, students, whoever can do. It just puts yourself a little out of your comfort zone. You have to be a little more aggressive and a little more bold. Um, and I tell students, like, if you don't feel slightly stalkerish, like, you're probably not doing enough effort. So
I can't tell you how many people I've hired for a role that they did not apply for. And I get it all the time from my leaders, and I coach my leaders because I might have a certain position, but I'm a firm believer that I want the right person in the right seats. And people don't understand the needs that organizations have. I may have 6 jobs posted, but I may, like you said, I know that I'm going to need 3 or 4 additional roles because of growth or however the landscape of the business is changing. And I get people all the time. They'll apply for a certain thing, and I see it, and I'm okay. This person is more qualified for this, which I'll have a need in 30 days, and I will push interviews out immediately to leaders. And sometimes my interviews, I usually craft my interview invites a certain way, and sometimes the leaders are right back. Well, hey, what is this person for? I say, you tell me. You go, and I would tell them that you have the conversation with them, and you tell me where you think they fit, because I have my opinion. I know what they applied for, but they're at much higher level, or they are really here, they're really there, and I want you to evaluate them for where would they fit in your department. And I think that's so valuable because I'm getting the right people in the right seats with that approach.
And students don't wait for companies to post the job to make the interaction. Like, reach out to these companies, these hiring managers, these recruiters, these department heads. Say you're an accounting major, go find the controller, go find who, head of finance or whatever it is. Like, make those interactions before they post the job, because if you wait until after, you're
You're
like
against 50
consumed with.
people now.
Yeah, yeah, there's so many people. I had a student, and it was probably the bravest I think I've seen, but she wanted to go to work in North Arkansas. And I was like, okay, a lot of these like tips of like, we're physically going to go and do this is not going to work. Like, you can't do that because it's 8 hours, 7 hours away. And so she like wrote job descriptions. So if a company that she had an interest in didn't have a job posted, she wrote a job description for herself, like, this is how I believe that I can impact your organization. Physically mailed it with a handwritten letter. And she had so many calls off of that. Like, I just had to meet the person that took such a unique approach to
That is
putting your
super
resume
cool.
out there,
Wow.
but yeah, I
From
mean,
an
like,
HR standpoint, I really love that. I've never heard of
That takes an
anybody
extra
doing
step out of
that.
our job that we don't have to
Yes,
do.
it does.
I don't have to
But
write the job description
it
now.
goes,
yeah.
yeah, it
And that
goes
was
to
before
some
AI. So that
companies.
was before AI wrote the job description for her. She physically
Wow.
typed all that.
Some companies don't know what they need until someone puts it in front of them. So I
Mhm.
love that idea. That's super creative.
Well, Jessica, we're gonna wrap up here, but I'm going to put you on the on the hot seat for 2 seconds, and I don't need a
Yeah.
response.
Okay.
But I had a conversation with Marcia recently, and I get to call
Yeah.
her Marcia now. So I
Yeah.
had that conversation with her as well. I told her I feel a certain way because I found out that Jessica calls you Marcia, and I still call you Dr. Dickerson from when I was in school. So she's
Uh-huh.
like, "No, James, you could call me Marcia." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that." But I understand from conversation with her and conversation with you that you are working on a project for for new graduates or people looking to get into the workforce.
Yeah.
You've got this technique that you've somewhat mastered and have done really good at, but you have it on your agenda to get that done, a 20
Yes.
minute, 20 to 30-minute project. And so I am going to hold your feet to the fire on the
Okay.
podcast that we get that done, when by the end of Q1. That's
Okay.
reasonable because
That's
that
cute.
gives us four
Yes.
months.
So the series is going to be called The Ghosted Grad, and it's all of these tips and tricks that I've accumulated for 10 years in career services. And yes, I absolutely need to record it because I mean, there's such like good little nuggets of like, if you just do this, then gosh, I had a former student in my office, actually earlier this week who was, I mean, in tears, like in tears because she had been in a job search now since July, was laid off from a job. And it was just like, changed her perspective. I'm like, you need to do it this way. And she was like, I just feel full of hope for the first time in a long time. And I think that it's just little shifts. Like, this isn't like go spend $300 on this new coaching, blah, 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 or whatever it is. Or like these are easy things that you can implement to make a difference in your job search. And that can have just compounding effects on your future. So yes, I need to do the series. And Marcia Dickerson, by the way, hired me at Louisiana Tech. She saw something in me when I did not see something in myself, and has continued to be a colleague, a mentor, a friend. And she's incredible. So I hope you have her on your podcast as well because
I had
she.
a conversation with her recently. She will be an upcoming guest in the near future, and I am super excited about that. Getting her on and just picking her brain about all things HR, business, leadership, consulting, and all of that. Um,
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap up. We're going to get off here. I know we're running long, but Jessica mentioned it. There, you don't have to go spend $300. You don't have to do those things. Briley and I have kicked this podcast off for that very reason.
Yeah.
Come see us, reach out, let us help. We want to help. It's free. I had someone message me the other day on Facebook and they were like, "Stop blasting my Facebook. You're interrupting my videos or something." I said, "Look, I'm not choosing ad placement. I'm not making any money off of this. We don't make money off of this. This is a free resource. We want to help you find jobs, tweak your resume, tweak your approach. We can get you in contact with the right people. What more do you ask for? I don't know where else this goes other than we're asking you to come to us to get career advice, free career advice, coaching, opportunities, resume review. You can go spend 20, 50, 60, 80, $100 out there to get a resume review, or you can come to two HR professionals that have been doing it for combined 15, 20 years have seen thousands of resumes. Let us help for free. I don't know why you wouldn't do it. So with that, we have the context, we have the people, we have a lot of guests coming up as well that we're super excited to bring on the show as well. We're going to close out here. Bradley Jeffcoat, James Callender, with the honor of having Jessica George here with us today for HRView, a workplace guide. Until next time, everyone be safe and we'll see you soon.